Gwen Stefani shutting down rumors she and Blake Shelton are getting divorced.
I was like, what? That's crazy.
Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton seemed like the perfect match. A love story born under the spotlight of music and television, filled with laughter, passion, and undeniable chemistry. Fans believed their bond was unshakable, a rare Hollywood romance destined to last. Yet behind the cameras and chart-topping duets, tensions quietly grew, leading to a shocking split that has left the world stunned. This wasn't just about distance or careers, it runs far deeper. What was the real reason that tore Gwen and Blake's relationship apart? Love that was real but not forever. In the end, there was no scandal, no explosive fight, no shocking twist fit for a tabloid headline. The breakup of Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton was far quieter, almost bittersweet in its unfolding. It was not the kind of ending that comes with doors slammed or harsh words exchanged. Instead, it was a slow unraveling, a gentle but undeniable realization that even the strongest feelings cannot always bridge the gap between two very different worlds. Love, as powerful as it is, does not always have the strength to erase old scars, smooth over deep contrasts, or bend two lives into a single shape. And yet, calling their relationship a failure would be deeply unfair. For nearly 10 years, Gwen and Blake crafted something rare, something inspiring. Their bond was not just a headline romance. It was laughter shared on stage, quiet moments off camera, and the merging of families that many doubted could ever work. They built memories together, raised Gwen's 3 boys with tenderness and unity, and managed to turn what began as an unlikely pairing into one of Hollywood's most heartwarming love stories. Their relationship was healing for both of them. Gwen, who had endured heartbreak and betrayal in her marriage to Gavin Rossdale, found in Blake a steady presence, a man whose loyalty and kindness reminded her that love could be safe again. Blake, too, was emerging from the wreckage of his divorce from Miranda Lambert. In Gwen, he found laughter, glamour, and a sense of joy that pulled him out of grief. Together, they showed the world that broken hearts could mend, and that love, even the second or third time around, could still surprise us with its intensity. But love, as every story eventually teaches, is only one part of the equation. Over time, the differences that once felt exciting began to feel like obstacles. What had once been complementary, the California rock star and the Oklahoma country boy, slowly turned into a divide. Gwen's life has always been built on reinvention, transformation, and forward momentum. Her artistry thrives on change, on creating new versions of herself, on chasing the next sound, the next vision, the next high-energy burst of creativity. Blake, in contrast, has always found his strength in constancy. He thrives in the stillness of Oklahoma, in familiar roots, in the simplicity of living close to the land and away from the chaos of constant reinvention. At first, those poles pulled them together. She brought him into the world of glamour and fashion, and he grounded her in authenticity and peace. But as years passed, those same differences became more difficult to balance. Slowly, quietly, the space between them grew until they found themselves walking side by side, but no longer in step. For the outside world, the questions will linger. Was it Los Angeles versus Oklahoma that finally tipped the balance? Was it Gwen's hunger for stage lights against Blake's yearning for quiet nights? Was it the lingering ghosts of Gavin Rossdale and Miranda Lambert, their pasts echoing into the present? Or was it simply the truth that some loves, no matter how deep, are only meant to last for a season of life, not a lifetime? Perhaps the answer doesn't matter as much as people want it to, because the love they shared, even if it didn't endure forever, was real. It was meaningful. It healed them, shaped them, and gave them a chapter of life that both will likely cherish long after the headlines fade. Their story wasn't a fairy tale, and maybe that's the point. It was something far more relatable, far more human. It was a reminder that love doesn't have to last forever to be profound, and that sometimes, even when two paths diverge, the journey they shared can still leave behind beauty, strength, and memories that live on. What exactly happened? What led to the breakup? Was it a misunderstanding? Was it incompatibility? Let's find out. The real story behind Gwen and Blake's rift. When it comes to Hollywood relationships, the public rarely sees the full story. What looks like a perfect romance on the red carpet often hides cracks, whispers, and behind-the-scenes drama. That seems to be exactly what happened in the stormy triangle involving Blake Shelton, Gwen Stefani, and Miranda Lambert. Reports surfaced claiming that Miranda Lambert, Shelton's ex-wife, allegedly sent Gwen Stefani a series of angry and hostile text messages. The tone of these texts was said to be sharp, aggressive, and deeply unsettling. According to insiders, they weren't just snide remarks or jealous jabs. Some were described as harsh threats. The kind of messages that, if true, could shake anyone at the receiving end. Miranda allegedly went as far as calling Gwen a homewrecker and even declared that her music career was over. One particular message, sources claim, was especially chilling. "Lucky I don't find you and kick your ass." Such words, whether meant seriously or as heated venting, struck a nerve. For Gwen, who had already endured years of personal turmoil, including the collapse of her marriage to Gavin Rossdale, this wasn't something she could simply ignore. A source close to Lambert, however, tried to explain the situation differently. They told In Touch magazine that Miranda struggles with holding back her emotions, especially when it comes to Stephanie. Sometimes she can't control herself. If Gwen were to set her off somehow, then the gloves would definitely come off, the insider said. It painted a picture of a woman who, despite her success, might find it difficult to let go of her feelings about her ex-husband's new life. But if Miranda's alleged behavior was shocking, Blake Shelton's reaction to it may have been even more surprising. Rather than taking a firm stand, Shelton reportedly asked Gwen to calm down. Sources say he dismissed the incident as nothing more than Miranda's fiery, no-nonsense, country gal personality shining through. According to one insider who spoke with Hollywood Life, Shelton urged Gwen not to get too worked up about it. For Gwen, this response felt like a betrayal. Loyalty, after all, was a deeply sensitive issue for her. She had already been scarred by infidelity in her previous marriage, and now she needed reassurance that her new partner would protect her and stand by her side. But instead of confronting Miranda, Blake allegedly brushed it off, hoping to smooth things over without confrontation. To Gwen, this wasn't enough. According to those close to her, she felt Shelton should have defended her directly and told Miranda to back off. The fact that he didn't left Gwen questioning their relationship. One insider even said, Gwen decided that if Blake wouldn't stand up for her and tell Miranda off, she didn't want to be with him. The tension escalated from there. Shelton reportedly thought Gwen was exaggerating the situation, making a mountain out of a molehill. He allegedly felt that her reaction revealed a side of her personality he hadn't fully seen before. A side shaped by sensitivity, past wounds, and perhaps expectations that he wasn't ready to meet. In the end, what seemed like a promising love story between two stars of The Voice began to feel like a house built on shaky ground. The combination of unresolved emotions from past relationships, Miranda's alleged outbursts, And Blake's attempts to keep the peace ended up creating more distance rather than closeness. As one source put it, it's sad, but maybe they just took on too much, too soon. Hollywood romances often start with fireworks, but sometimes it's not the glare of the spotlight that ends them, it's the shadows that never go away. How did the relationship between Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton start? What ignited the spark? Did they appear like a perfect couple in public? Let's delve into the details of the romance that was built for headlines. From fairy tale to fracture. When Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton first stepped into the public eye as a couple, it was like watching two worlds collide in the most unexpected way. Fans, critics, and even casual onlookers couldn't help but react with a mix of disbelief and fascination. Here was Gwen, the fearless California rock goddess whose platinum blonde hair and striking red lipstick had become as iconic as her voice. She carried with her the edge of ska and punk, the sound of Anaheim's underground, and the daring energy of the 1990s music scene. And then there was Blake, an Oklahoma country boy through and through. He wasn't polished Hollywood, he was boots dusty from red soil. A guitar that told stories of heartbreak and hometown pride, and a heart rooted in the traditions of rural America. On The Voice, where fate brought them together, their connection seemed almost magnetic. Viewers noticed the spark instantly. But what made it more powerful was the vulnerability they both carried. Gwen was reeling from the collapse of her marriage to Gavin Rossdale, a union shadowed by betrayal. Blake, at the same time, was nursing his wounds after his highly publicized split from country star Miranda Lambert. Out of that shared pain, a bond emerged, fragile yet fierce. They leaned on each other, not just as co-stars, but as two broken hearts quietly stitching themselves back together. To many, their love story felt like destiny, a miracle carved from heartbreak. Hollywood wasted no time in branding them a modern-day fairy tale. Headlines painted them as proof that opposites really do attract. Social media feeds overflowed with curated glimpses of their love. Gwen smiling in cowboy boots on Blake's ranch, Blake blending seamlessly into Gwen's vibrant family life, and the two of them harmonizing tenderly on stage as if singing directly to one another. Fans didn't just see a celebrity couple, they saw a symbol. A reminder that love could bridge not only genres and lifestyles, but also the suffocating pressures of fame. Yet, even the most dazzling fairy tales can conceal shadows. While the public feasted on images of perfection, behind the scenes, the cracks began to show. Gwen, a global style icon accustomed to the fast-paced glitz of Los Angeles, often found herself caught between the world she had always known and Blake's slower, quieter life on the ranch. Blake, for his part, was deeply rooted in his Oklahoma traditions and often seemed uneasy with the ever-present glare of Gwen's pop culture universe. These weren't small differences, they were tectonic shifts, waiting for the right moment to collide. For years, they worked to blend those worlds, each willing to step into the other's space. Gwen traded glamorous stages for fishing trips, while Blake warmed to the red carpets he once avoided. But beneath the smiles and the picture-perfect Instagram posts, the realities of distance, personality, and lifestyle began to press harder. The truth is, fairy tales rarely unravel in loud explosions. They quietly fade in whispers and silences. And while Gwen and Blake once seemed like love's ultimate proof, their story reminds us of a harder truth. Even miracles, when stretched too far, can break. Their romance was never just about music or fame. It was about finding light in the ashes of heartbreak. But as the world looks on now, one question lingers. Was their love built to last? Or was it always meant to be a beautiful, fleeting chapter in their very different lives? Did Gwen and Blake look like they would last long together? Was the relationship smooth or stormy before the breakup? Let's dig into the details of the cracks beneath the glitter. Opposites that couldn't last. Their love story had always been painted in bold contrasts, two worlds colliding, opposites that somehow managed to attract. Gwen Stefani was the rhythm of Los Angeles itself. Neon lights flashing along Sunset Boulevard, fashion shows where cameras never stopped clicking, recording studios humming late into the night, and the endless chatter of celebrity life. The city was not just her backdrop, it was her bloodstream. Her three sons were firmly rooted there, with their schools, their friends, and their father, Gavin Rossdale. For Gwen, California wasn't a place she lived in. It was home, duty, and legacy. Walking away from it was more than unimaginable. It was impossible. Blake Shelton, on the other hand, carried an entirely different heartbeat. Oklahoma wasn't just where he lived. It was who he was. His sprawling ranch wasn't a vacation escape. It was the very definition of belonging. Mornings were for feeding animals, afternoons for working the land, and evenings for settling on the porch, where the silence spoke louder than any city noise. Every corner of that ranch whispered stories of family, tradition, and authenticity. For Blake, the city wasn't alive. It was exhausting. Los Angeles represented chaos. Oklahoma represented peace. For a time, they balanced the impossible. Gwen would fly out to Oklahoma, trading her stilettos for boots, and Blake would return the gesture, smiling his way through Los Angeles parties and industry gatherings. At first, it felt romantic, like they were two adventurers exploring each other's universes. But what once felt like a sweet compromise began to weigh heavily. Blake grew restless, wearied by the artificial glitter of Hollywood and the constant demands of its spotlight. Gwen, no matter how much she loved Blake, could never uproot her children from the stability and life they knew in California. The tension wasn't spoken aloud at first, but with each passing year, the silent question lingered between them: where would forever really be? The challenge didn't end with geography. Their ambitions, once complementary, began to push them in opposite directions. Blake had reached a turning point. After years in the spotlight, he stepped back from The Voice, signaling more than just a career decision. He declared that he longed for simplicity. He wanted life to slow down, for fame to fade quietly into the background, for his days to be filled with sunsets, laughter, and the grounding rhythm of ranch life. Gwen, meanwhile, was still ascending. Her beauty line, GX5E, demanded constant attention and creativity. Her music career, too, called her into studios and onto stages, pulling her deeper into the limelight. For her, momentum was not optional. It was survival. She thrived on innovation, performance, and the energy of a fast-paced world. What once had been a beautiful balance, his calm grounding her whirlwind, started to feel like an irreconcilable clash. His dream was stillness, hers was movement. He found joy in tractor rides and porch conversations. She found purpose in red carpets and flashing cameras. And so, what began as the thrill of opposites gradually became the tension of two people moving in opposite directions. The bond that had once seemed unbreakable slowly began to fray, stretched thin between Oklahoma's wide-open fields and Los Angeles's crowded streets. Could it be said that the breakup was due to the past that would not let go? Are they truly ready for a relationship that would stand the test of time? Let's dig into the details of the past that kept haunting their relationship. Haunted by shadows. No love story ever starts on an empty slate. Every relationship is shaped by what came before. And for Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton, the past was a constant shadow. Both entered their romance carrying heartbreaks that still lingered, no matter how much they tried to move forward. Behind the dazzling smiles and red carpet appearances were scars not yet healed, broken promises, lost dreams, and memories that refused to fade. Their love seemed like a new beginning, yet it was also a continuation of unfinished stories. And that hidden weight would quietly shape everything that unfolded between them. For Gwen, the end of her marriage to Gavin Rossdale was not just heartbreaking. It was humiliatingly public. Betrayal and tabloid rumors painted her as a woman blindsided by the collapse of what once looked like a perfect rock and roll marriage. For Blake, his divorce from Miranda Lambert ripped apart more than just a relationship. It divided fans across the country music world. Both knew what it felt like to be dissected by strangers, to have their pain turned into headlines. When Gwen and Blake found each other, it felt like a sanctuary. Two broken hearts, bruised by love's cruelty, discovered healing in the company of someone who understood the sting of loss. In many ways, their bond was born from that shared trauma. But while pain can spark connection, it is not always strong enough to hold two lives together forever. The ghosts of their failed marriages lingered like uninvited guests, shaping how they trusted, how they argued, and how they dreamed. For Gwen, her children became her anchor. Every choice she made circled back to their stability, their routines in Los Angeles, their relationship with their father, and the sense of normalcy she fought to protect, despite her fame. For Blake, the burden was different. He felt the constant need to prove to the world that their relationship wasn't just real, it was perfect. Together, they weren't only lovers. They were a public image, a brand built on romance. And brands do not thrive on flaws. But love is not lived on magazine covers. Behind the carefully staged smiles and red carpet appearances, cracks began to show. The pressure to uphold the fairy tale, to silence every whisper of doubt, left little space for honesty. Ordinary couples fight, stumble, and regroup in private. For Gwen and Blake, every small disagreement risked becoming gossip. The need to look perfect became heavier than either expected. Blending their families only added more strain. Blake stepped lovingly into the role of stepfather, earning praise for his devotion to Gwen's 3 boys. Yet parenting teenagers is never simple, even less so when the entire world is watching. Boundaries, discipline, and the inevitable ups and downs of adolescence created challenges that no amount of love songs could erase. Gavin Rossdale's continued role as their father meant Blake often felt like a guest star in a story already written. Over time, that unspoken reality weighed on him. Their struggles weren't the explosive scandals Hollywood thrives on. There were no dramatic betrayals or screaming matches splashed across tabloids. Instead, their difficulties were quiet, subtle, and deeply human. They were the kinds of struggles any couple might face, but under the microscope of fame, even small cracks can feel like earthquakes. In the end, Gwen and Blake's love was real, but reality itself became their greatest test. So, do you think the reason for the breakup was truly worth it? Or could there be more to it? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.